my chieftain name. And to be Muslim from Cape Marsh. I'm honored to have been asked to be MC today for Cecil. We have a program that we're going to be following, and we're going to have commentary from some of our elders and chiefs in and amongst us to explain as we progress through this afternoon. I'll begin by calling on Ed Dawson to welcome us and start the festivities.
The question, nephew, to be really not a hit that way. Like a hat as a mama, like a mula, the achilles one of my heads of look. Like a salas, Miss Mula, like that Gafta, Giga, Kilako. Seen Adamson, nephew, Panala, Sirako, in Vida for the last maybe 2 years, the Kovai flag. Painum, street law. And when Uga has seen Adam said, yeah, you just can't get on like a school, that's your own. It's a residential school. Everybody got flats of orange. Who much that look? I'm seen it so. I'd like to thank you guys. You know, so got that offers. Good ups. Welcome you guys. Thank you for coming. And I'd like to thank this organization that's looked after all his paintings and all the valuable carbons that were made by our family years ago. They're all shown now. It's appreciate this. They are shown, and we value these very much. And to pass on to our kids in the future that our history is not forgotten. Jim will explain the kind of the program.
Thank you, Ed. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome everybody as well. The exhibit that's here comes from Cecil, whose future was predetermined in his youth to do what he's done here. And in and amongst us, to carve and paint, and to keep our culture, our history and traditions alive. In many ways, I'm a product of colonization and residential schools, in that my parents refused to teach me our language for fear that I would receive the punishment that both of them received in residential school. I am honored to say that my grandchildren are learning our language, their culture, their traditions, and their responsibilities. They are now in middle school and high school, and they know more about our language than I do. Without any further ado, I'd like to call on Chaz to further welcome and open today with an opening prayer. Chaz? Kamo stikme, kokma salot. Naisla nachwa kwetiglasa. Maar dan is nog zo'n stikme sanachwa. Takala, hola. Ik zie dat er is haast met kikme. Dat ik ga nou kijk het lekker kikme. On behalf of Cecil, he would like to thank the Lakewood people for allowing him to do his business on their land, and to the museum for providing the space and opportunity to show what he's going to show. And I'd like to call on James Quittel from the Lakewood. Kila ketla. You kila te, as I stand here and acknowledge the existence of who I am in the territory of the Lakewood Duck, and say to my friend, it's an honor for me to stand here and cordially invite all of what's going to be displayed here. And I'm only about one who has represented it. There's a few here on the Lakewood Duck that I wanted to be here to acknowledge it with a drum and a song that I want to acknowledge Cecil and this whole display with. And Sandra, thank you for allowing this to partake here in this awesome place. And I had the honor to witness and see some of the things, but I think the biggest part about it is that this is the beginning that my friend had felt in his heart to do this. But it's one of the biggest things for him to have acknowledged and come to the territory of the Lakewood Duck and have this done here. I feel that your strength from yourself, from your mom, your dad, and all of that. I know them, I grew up with them. And I really honor this time. And I honor it with the deepest things for myself, my family, and all of us here under the Lakewood Duck. And I really felt the uniqueness to say to my brother Bob, because of this, and we do not disrespect, I know we don't disrespect. There's a family over in Wewakai right now, and I think it's appropriate that we do this in honor and memory of that, and send love and prayer. Right now they're over there sending a loved one on her journey. And that, so if you would all join me with a moment of silence to do that. Because this is our way. Our way is that we are not being disrespectful to the family or anything by allowing us to drum, the singing, or whatever. But if we do it under the appropriate manner and speaking and asking for permission, but most of all by acknowledging the family over there, and that our hearts are heavy, and they're sending that beautiful loved one on their journey. If we don't mind, I'd like to take that moment right now. Gila Kesla. Do our song. Sean. Corey.
Oh
Thank you, singers. Our host is now going to present gifts to the singers and to Jimmy. Just while he's doing that, if you tour the exhibit, there's a little bit of writing on every art piece, and there's writing about Cecil, who he is, where he came from, where he's going, and there's reference to standing in the gap on the altar. When you read it, you'll come to understand that at a very young age, Cecil was taken aside by his grandmother and other family members to say that he has a responsibility now to fill the gap. There were things done through colonization and residential school, and just the system of the Indian Act that took our identity, our culture, our history, attempted to take our history away. We've proven how resilient and strong we are as a people. The biggest thing that happened today for me is how much family I met today. I don't know much of my father's family. My father is from Whiteman Sound, he grew up in Kinshasa Inlet, with very close friends with Cecil's mom and dad. And I was close to Cecil's dad and mom. It's an honor to be here, to be part of all of this, and giving Cecil the opportunity to do what he's doing, because it's his responsibility. And he's fulfilled his responsibility well. And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank him for what he's done. Were you going to present that to the museum? Can we have a representative of the museum?
On behalf of for the opportunity to allow us to tell our story. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecil. Part of the thing about MC is I have a lot of pride. And for the people that know me, I use it and I use it well. I want to take the opportunity to thank all the people that travel great distances to be here. From Vancouver, from Victoria. We have a couple of people here who are from the weekend now represented. I'd like to welcome them both. Ken Walkers, please, if you would stand. And Dwayne Walkers, if you would stand as well. Thank you. Their administrator is from Kinshasa. And this gives me an opportunity to let everybody know I just started working for them 2 weeks ago. And there's coincidences all over the place with our people. My father was born, literally born, on a double-ender gill netter. Back in the days when they were gill netting, his mom rode the boat, and that's where he was born, in Riverson. So lo and behold, 99 years later, I'm working in the village just a short distance from where my dad was born. And I'm working with people that I started working with 30 years ago. It all comes in a big circle. There's going to be some comments and additions to this afternoon from Bobby Joseph and Ed Dawson and others as we go along. So And I'm sure, I just want to confirm it. We're going to hear a morning song now, and this is going to be in memory of those that we've lost, those that have been lost with the missing woman, and murdered woman, and girls, as well as residential school that are playing more and more of these children never made it home. And most recently, through the pandemic that we in this room have survived, not everybody has survived. And this song will be in memory of that.
What you just seen, Jilako, you've done in every podcast. It's a morning song. And this particular folks that was here, we lost a sister, and I'm sure a lot of us have lost the loved ones. Took us 2 years, but it's so timely, it was just right that there's so many kids who are gone now because of residential school. And she was here representing mourning for those kids. Yes, part of the ceremony for the mourning of the kids.
We're going to now have some eagle down spread to cleanse and bless the floor. There's going to be some dances following. Thank you very much for that. As everybody is aware, what we are doing is a very abbreviated version of what happens in our big house during the ceremony and taught after. But we wanted to ensure that we do things in this abbreviated space and time the best we could to help our host along in the opening of this exhibit and work. One of the things that we have to cope with in this cramped space is getting prepared. So if you see me coming and going and asking questions, it's because the three of us who came in this abbreviated space of time. And that's why I never got in trouble in school. I always seem to have an answer. They're almost ready.
Welcome gathered to Hamaso. Kaita Gapsi, Nizli Dai. We ask for your attention, please, for this next ceremony that will be displayed. It's important to our chief Gixie, that's a really hard name. Sometimes I do that to my family. Sally Smith. It's part of his life narrative. And it's really important for him today. We talked about it a little bit. That he wants to share his narrative with all of you and all of the people that will ever come to see this powerful exhibition of culture and history. He knows that in the losing of our ability to share our stories with each other, we are less. Our relationships are poorer. And so there's a deep theme behind this great exhibit today. It's about you and I, we, the people, finding some way to educate each other about who we are, what's important to us, where we can move forward together. And so this creation that you're going to see, in our own language, we would call it Nawa, supernatural. Something that springs deeply from his heart and his mind and his soul about this time we're in and the time we've been through. So we're going to show that now. I've been just emphasizing the significance of this moment, this gathering, this happening, that it's important for us to create spiritual space when we have ceremony, when we get together as human beings, seeking something better for all of us, seeking value, purpose, and our chief, my nephew, wants us to experience the idea that there is so much power in us being together, being naturally one with each other. We don't have to look far. You look at Ukraine, what's happening there. You look up, turmoil everywhere. And all of us here, with all of the cultures that we have, including the culture that my nephew belongs to, can do something about mitigating inhumanity to man. And so this moment for my nephew is one that he has yearned to create for a long time. I've spoken to him over the years. And he's wanted to give expression to his life experience, and he does through all of these beautiful creations. He learned from his father and my sister, the chief's mother, all these important values that we need, not only to hold, but to practice. Corporate culture is about all of that. It has this deep, deep meaning, significance. It is beyond the beauty of the artwork, beyond the power of song and dance and protocol and all of the customs that we display. So we invite all of you to be a part of this space, now supernatural space. I'm really proud of our chief. I walked in this morning and I said, holy, it just struck me. It's so beautiful and powerful, and it will carry a message for a long time. So I congratulate my nephew, I congratulate Kettle River Museum for the transformation it's been undergoing for a long time. They've wanted to help those people who use this museum, including Indigenous people, to tell their own stories, to tell the meaning of all of the custom, ritual. And my nephew also really cares about the future of our culture, about our language, about how our children grow up to be dignified, to feel important and valued. And he wants that reflected in how we enact all that we believe in, so that these young kids grow up strong, feeling good, feeling belonging, feeling connected. And so I want us to think about those things as well today. I'm so happy to be here, to be with all of you, and thank you for all being here. You're going to be a part of the message about this idea that there's a good idea in Campbell River Museum, and that message should go out as far and wide as is possible. I watched my nephew, Archie, grow up. He was a little guy. And Vicky, his sister's here too. And I watched him hanging around my other relatives. Their grandpa, uncles, Coxie, and they were all deeply cultured. And my nephew watched them and he listened to them. And as he grew into it, he grasped his own ideas and style about how we would represent this beautiful, powerful culture that we have. And I feel so good because I'm getting old now. That these young people have the tools and the vision and the spirit and the heart and the soul to keep on, keep going. And I thank Cam River for supporting that kind of initiative. It's always been happening. I used to be on the board of this great institution a long time ago. And I've seen it transform to be one in its size, one of the most powerful institutions in the province and probably the country, because it wasn't afraid of change. It wasn't afraid of inclusion. And so we, us, Chief, we're not God. You keep on doing what you're doing. Be inclusive, be visionary. Bring our people together, bring us all together. I had always that thing. So that's all I have to say for now.
Just like our students.
Give acknowledgement to Bob and Joe for the use of that song, and while I have them up here, I'm going to call him a very brief
What's that?
explanation about that.
I think a little background on that beautiful song. There was a beautiful chief among us who left not too long ago. He was younger than I was, and he had this beautiful voice. Not only that, he could compose songs, and he was one of the masterminds behind the creation of all of those canoe journeys that have happened year after year after year, that have made huge impact on the youth across this coast and Nia Bay area and everything else. And so we spent a lot of time together because we went to potlatches, and we sat around and listened to the older, wiser chiefs than we were, for sure. But it was fun. And one day he sang this song, Anya. And Anya is about the flight of a thunderbird, soaring gracefully and so peacefully in the heavens. And so you listen to the song, you can visualize almost the motion of the thunderbird. I love that song so much, I approached my friend, my chief, assistant, Frank Nelson. I said, I really, really like that song. I said, can I buy it from you? Because in the old days, that's how you got some property from others. You bought, purchased it, or traded it. But there had to be some in-kind reciprocity about the gift. And he said, oh, no, it's not for sale. I really love it myself. But when I make up my mind, sometimes I really make up my mind and I hound it. But finally he said, well, okay, you can buy it. And so I said, I'll give you this much for it. And he kind of hesitated, but I leaned on him a little more, and finally said, okay, it's your song. And I'm so happy I did that, because ever since that time, well, it's still a song of our family. It's a song of all the native people, the young people especially, who ply the coastline on canoes once a year, other than for these COVID years. And they go into journeys of their own, seeking self-discovery, making connection with the universe. And a lot of them have found healing ways and are better as young people because of it. So because Jimmy said, keep it short, that's it.
Thank you, Bob.
That's just a small version of it.
For those of you that don't know Bobby Joseph, that was great.
Did you get that?
Oh, I missed it.
Say it again.
So, the other thing about Bobby, you'll soon come to realize that he doesn't listen well. I said that for those of you that don't know Bobby Joseph, that was great.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's come to my attention while we've been here that one of the elders in the village of Yukino passed away this morning, and we're saddened to hear that. Thank you for that, and my condolences on behalf of my clan go out to the people in Yukino and for the family of the lost loved ones.
Oh,
I know. They wanted to go home.
Couple of things. I want everyone to know that Bob Joseph and I are first cousins. We're very good friends, and I would never intentionally do anything to hurt his feelings or his reputation. So I would like to apologize to Bob for the teasing that I've done of him today. And also call on him to give as long as he wants explanation of that last dance.
Yeah, that's the Kisiwala. In Kokwa, that means the wolf headpiece. The dancers who wear the wolf headpiece, Kisiwala. Those are first ancestors, the wolves. In this particular display, it was about the wolves at Kinkham Inlet and Wakeman Sound during the Great Flood way back in history. It's been said that when the water started to rise, those two wolves took refuge at the top of the mountain, and eventually, of course, the water subsided and the wolves descended the mountain. Following that flood, the two brothers who were the wolves, Kawadilakla and Kalili, were talking about the future and where they might settle in permanence. Kawadilakla, the older brother, of course, chose to settle permanently in the Kinkham Valley region, and he told his younger brother, Kwalili, to go to the next valley and see what there might be in case he might like some other place close by like that to start his settlement with his family. So the young wolf traveled over to the next valley, which happens to be Wakeman Sound. It's called Ashapu, the old ancient name. And he was so happy at what he saw at Wakeman Sound. He returned to his brother, told him in excitement that there was this valley, one over from Kinkham, and that he was going to go there and start his family and community. So all of these first ancestor stories are really, really important. You know, we've been talking about reconciliation for a while now, and we're talking a lot about decolonization. And one of the things that we have to recognize, and it's so obvious, but most Canadians, British Columbians, don't give it much thought that we've been here throughout millennia, that indeed we have these Genesis stories that place us in places like Wakeman Sound and Kinkham Inlet and all of the territory, of course. And so it's important as we decolonize to share each other's history. I really want to be able to share what I know with others that, you know, we call, generally speaking, newcomers, so that they know of the length and breadth and depth and super nature of our history. And at the same time, we should be reciprocal and share the history of those who have come here lately, so that we can appreciate where all of us come from. And it's again that idea about having dialogue with each other that creates understanding. When we don't talk to each other and we build the walls, we're never, ever going to reconcile. And we're going to live with the systems that obviously haven't worked in the last 150 years. So even Kulile and Kawadilakala have voices. We just got to find the people to hear that voice.
Thank you, Bob. The thing about following great speakers like Bobby and his explanation went across 2,000 years. From the Genesis story to today, reconciliation. There's one thing I can share with you. Throughout my life, when I was growing up, there was outright racism. There's no mistake about it. The school where we lived, it was terrible. And my children faced racism, but not to the extent I did. And my grandchildren, it's less and less and less every year. And I'd like to attribute that to the people that fought on our behalf to have the systems changed and include our history in the school curriculum. Our language, our culture, our traditions, our laws are being taught to all children in the school. And when people have a better understanding of each other, that erases the racism, in my view. So I'd like to thank Bobby for his explanation and a very brief history. And one further bit of information, that song that was sung for the Wolf Dance belonged to Cecil's mother. One last tidbit of information about Cecil. It's his birthday today. Oh, so we'll wish him happy birthday. Have a happy 29th birthday, David.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Cecil. Happy birthday to you. He just started fire from those. He just started fire from those. He just started fire from those. He just started fire.
Put a fresh battery in.
I'm joking.
As we're winding down, as we're closing, concluding, I can share our host, I've been told, was very, very pleased and happy at the way things have gone. And thank you to all the participants that helped open this exhibit for our host. Our host now wants us to have a fun dance. So whoever's going to lead the way.
I'll try.
Yeah, probably.
Think about
opportunity to speak, if they wish to speak.
Gelo Tesla. Gelo Tesla, Halaku. Gelo Tesla, New York. Gelo Tesla, New Utah. Yamima. Gelo Tesla, Kikame. Gelo Tesla, Kuikungo, Heligas. Gelo Tesla, Nukuis. Nukuayam, the kids of Yakwa. Quagyu. Klingit. Mulchat. Lipokto. Wilakam, Wilakat. Akela Kasta. All of us eat. The heart is full. I'm very moved by Cecil. We've all been an admirer of yours. Unbeknownst to you, you're very humble, but so obviously so talented. So much talent. So much imagination. And to come from a rich family of artists that we share life connections with from way back into history now. We're very proud. Very proud of what you have accomplished. You just took care of your number. And you know what that means for us. And so many people are so proud. And you just raised the bar for so many of us. I'm so proud of the way you contemporize your work. We come from a tradition where an ovoid is an ovoid, a U-shape is a U-shape, a split is a split, trigon. I think that's the new word they're using, trigon.
Oh.
So Cecil's had to tread between contemporary art and growing up, obviously, listening to his elders. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that his imagination started when he was young. And he's transformed so many stories and legends. Zunuquis, returning the children body mass. I can't wait to see that when it's really exploded. When it's not just a little taste that we got today. The imagination, he's just touched his imagination. The other thing I'd like to share is the rest of us have one speed. Some other artists have warp speed. This is one of those warp speeds. He's got a natural eye. So lots of us like to draw a line first and then we'll paint it. Lots of us are way too finicky about it. Cecil reminds us it's artwork. You're meant to look at it. It's meant to be alive. You're not meant to look at it like this. And so when I see Cecil's work, I mean that I work around one of those guys. It drives me crazy. He's like warp speed all the time. His name, I wish he was here. He's a fellow. You get up in the morning and the piece is finished. You know, you get up in the morning at the end of the day, his piece is finished. Cecil, you can work around it. And he's one of those guys. You're still working on one piece, and he's got 3 pieces out the door. And, George shared when they worked together. George Shaughnessy, another artist. For those of you that don't know me, I'm George Hunt Jr. come from a really strong line of cultural carvers and cultural keepers of the treasures. And I mean that this man is one of those. Comes from such a long line. And on the Henderson side, from this place, I have to mention them. My mom's the eldest, Henderson. And my mentor, I count my grandfather, Sam Henderson. Fought very highly in the Celtic style. One of your major influences. That's how we're connected. Very proud and thankful for all what you've done today. Thank all the chiefs, the noble ladies, the many cultures that are represented in this room, like Bobby Joe shared. It's through our work and through sharing of culture and time, we're going to bridge some of our differences. And from our side, as to decolonize, I always ask, what is that? That's the ongoing question. What's ours? And we have to keep on listening to our, you know, stuff or know that, listening to our heart. Can I share that same privilege you gave him and keep talking for a little bit longer? I'm just going to wrap up. I want to share one, the orange shirt for me and all of us represent so much. And I've got to share everybody, lots of people here know my dad, the Mookwis, George Hunt Sr., George Pye. And I call this a real George Pye story. So he was at that residential school in Wood Bay, St. Mike's. And he was a fluent speaker, and he got punished a lot, spent a lot of time in the corner, got strapped in the washroom, cleaning the urinals and everything, all the horrific things that we've heard about. And I share this part of the story. So a lot of that stuff I didn't know from him. I learned it from other families that were there. So he would speak about it. He was really strong, and he would keep on running to the forest. And finally, Grandpa Tommy got tired of him being in trouble because he'd run to the forest all the time. And finally, Grandpa Tommy, Chief Tommy Hunt, said, "Emma, just let him be now. He's going to come fish with me." So he was 12, turned 13, and he started fishing on the boat. So he'd been in the school for 6+ years. And he used to tell us he was in school for 1 year. He was just as shocked as everybody when they said he was in there for 7. When he found out that he was in there for 7. So that's how much he blocked out. How many years? But besides running to the forest and I think trying to be a Hamasa and medicine himself, he goes to the edge of the yard, and he always had a big voice from when he was young. "Anita! Ola Malapuska! Dia! Ola Malapuska!" Says, "I'm Dia. I am hungry. Granny, great auntie, granny." He asked for, and so my auntie shared this more than he did. And because the granny lived 3 houses down, somebody would appear with food at the edge of the yard, and he would be hungry. But my auntie made sure she shared this part of the story. It wasn't that he was hungry. His friends were hungry. His fellow students, residential school survivors, and he would make sure he'd give them food all the time. And that, I just share that to show his strength and his own survival skills and his own way of coping and adapting. But at the same time, he already knew to give. It's just instinctive that we share. We're always sharing as people. And I want to thank Cecil for sharing his gift. And continue. And I look forward to working with you sometime. Okay, like I said.
Kijk eens, kijk me. Wat belangrijk is was. Maar zo nog kijk maar eens kachakos. Waar we get waften. Waar we get zingen. Rest of dat aan de lof. Kijk eens dat.
I'm going to call on Chaz now to say a few words.
Chakra, Krishna, Veranka Sakikame, Veranka Sadinaka, Suma Sitsia Huelase, Kugu de Nochik, Gachta Hakos, Ichamasanoche, Olga Mula, Aviv Mula Vedas, nephew Hanala, Olga Mula. I was asked, I had a choice, I had a meeting in my family in Guilford today, and the chief said, are you going to make it? Maybe, I'm not definite. I had other plans, and my option was to come with my nephew today, and all of you. So it's awesome day to all of you taking part, to show your appreciation for my nephew. It's been a great day for him and all your families, all the beautiful dances, and I appreciate you that we just work together, help one another, support one another, and we have a better life. So we work together. And my nephew, my brother, I think from my brother here, Ricky, we've been trying to have a Paul last couple of years because of the COVID, but it will happen. We can overcome things like that in life. It will happen, and we'll be all happy. Well, things will come, and all of us standing together.
Kijk eens, kijk me. I'm questioning that Jesus Lord. Now we get his stuff for you. So that I'm no kick of a clock of course. It's got to make his head.
I'd like to call on Harry.
Traditional name is Deep. I come from the village of Wakefield South. Cecil is coming on my grandmother's side. And I wanted to let Cecil know that I'm very honored to be here with him today. Because amongst the artwork that's here, he is displaying some of my uncle's work, my late uncle's work. And scared to share a little bit of some of our culture. When we grew up, we didn't just become artists. We didn't just become chiefs. When I grew up, I'm going to share with you my history. I had to learn to sing I sang on the lawn with Chief Frank Nelson. I was in 1970 when we first had our elder reunion. After that, I was taught how to dance by my late uncle, John Newman, at Clarkson's at the And after that, I had to learn how to take care of the dancers as they went on the floor. All of us chiefs had to do that. We don't just become chiefs. We don't just become artists. We have to understand everything that's here. We understand it. And we have to take it into heart what it means. And I had to share that because that's not shared very often when chiefs get up to speak about how we get to the places we're at. My uncle's a speaker because he was taught and he listened. My cousins and artists, both of them, all of them. All of us are related here in some fashion. I just found out, where's he? This young fellow here is my cousin. I just found out today. I say hi to her all the time. No, I'm not kidding you. I'm 62 years old. And him and I were talking earlier over there, and to me, he was just a stranger. And then my Uncle Bobby Joe comes and tells us we're related. We're from the same village. We're holy cow, and I met him a few years ago in Tribal Journeys, and I found out we were related too. So that's one of the good things about this. One of the good things about it. It's important to share this. When we do gatherings like this is what happens. This is one of the things that happen. We energize our soul with the songs and the dances, but at the same time, we meet new family. Now we just got to figure out that there's a family tree, but we know we're related. And to me right now, that's all that matters, and that makes me real happy. I'm glad I came up today. I'm very honored to be here and to witness all the work that they've done. My son and I both represent, my son represents my other grandfather, Sam James, who comes from the Gilgamesh. I come from Beacon. The house that I'm talking about, Alan James, is the house that my son takes care of. So I want to get to know Alan James, that's his house. My son takes care of it. We used to thank you on behalf of both of us and our families. Aquilo que essa Guatemala igreja está passando por aqui, como fica mais agora.
Just been informed it's my turn to speak. It's an honor and a privilege to have been invited to participate today. When Cecil invited me, it was the day he came into this room and was describing what was going to be displayed. And he told me the story behind that mask that came out. The story's here. It came for him in a dream. I'm glad that our people foresaw what was needed and chose people to be responsible, such as Cecil, to carry on the artwork and carving. And there's the writing on the wall that says Cecil Dawson standing in the gap. I think it's more than standing in the gap. As Harry described, I want to introduce myself to him when he came this morning. And lo and behold, his family. I have much family in England from both my dad and my mother's side. My mother is real care from Cape Mud, and my dad was from Whiteman Sound, and grew up in Keaton. A little short story about my dad. He was quiet, he was humble, he didn't like talking about himself. So the fact that he went to residential school really didn't come up in our discussions. He went from residential school and volunteered. Next thing you know, he's on the other side of the world in the Second World War. And he definitely didn't talk about that. I can't even imagine the mental health traumas that he went through and kept it to himself. For the most part, he was a very successful man. He was a fisherman and logger. He's the only elected chief in Cape Mud that wasn't from Cape Mud. He was RCMP officer, served in the army, went to residential school, and he was quiet about it. The one thing impressed on me by both of my parents that went to residential school is you have to get educated if you're going to survive in this world. And my mother kept telling me, please, that's something that they can't take away from you is when you get an education. I didn't ask who they were. I instinctively knew. Standing in the gap is only part of Cecil Dawson. Bridging the gap is going to be his legacy. The very fact that he brought everybody here today to be part of this is bridging the gap in my mind. I met a family. I saw old friends. I'm meeting new people that will become new friends. It's great to see old friends here today as well. So Cecil, thank you very much for inviting me to participate with you in the opening of your exhibit. And I'm going to bring my partner to come and witness what you have here displayed in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Желательно, кекаме, iküz nokaya kuşkakıma, da baksanın kekame var.
I'd like to now call on a weekend. I'm sorry, Ted Marcus. I'm sorry, Ted.
Dus mijn bosom das, maar ik ook wel eens gaan kletsen, Cecil, for inviting me and to also fill in the gap of lost relationships, lost relatives. It's wonderful to find other relatives that we never knew we had. And just to reiterate on Jimmy's few words of filling in the gap, or standing in the gap. This is a bit of regeneration. It isn't reconciliation, it's regeneration, which is so important for all Canadians today. And to be able to regenerate with different families from
up and down this beautiful coast that we live in. It's so important. And like I've always said, I do a lot of school talks. And you know, the kids always ask me, what's my thought on reconciliation? And I always tell them, and it goes back to my parents' residential school, our parents. I'm here with my brother Dwayne, of their tragedies at St. Mike's School, and how they didn't want us to learn our culture, our language, and that's why I speak to you in English today. That when we grew up, we just wanted to be like everybody else. I mean, it went as far as the movies, where you never wanted to, when after the movie's over, you didn't want to be an Indian, because an Indian lost every time. You wanted to be that cowboy. We always wanted to be winners. We are winners, we're survivors. But growing up as a young kid, thinking this, living that, denying my DNA within me, I just thank our lucky stars and people like yourself. And I mean, a person who was the greatest inspiration in my life was my aunt, the matriarch of my family, Nuakawa, Evelyn Windsor, brought me along and taught me so well. And you're well connected with my aunt. So, you know, so you become the person you're supposed to be. You're no longer ashamed of the color of your skin, or what you wear, or our culture. And so to these children, I always tell them, you must recognize your personal difference before you can recognize anybody else's. It's so important for children to know that, yes, you're different, but yes, you're very, very important to this world and to everybody else. So, and I just want to mention your exhibit here, and you know, the representation of my traditional territory. You know, the story of me growing up as a kid at Good Hope, you know, where my brother, both Dwayne and I work now, and you know, what a different world Good Hope has been, or has changed to from when you were there, where it was always close to us, they were looking down on us, right? And, you know, that colonization of those years to today, where there's an awakening. Who's the manager of the place? Who runs the place? We have an awakening who's the head guide. We're the people that those people are looking to, or it's now for guidance. And it's up to each and every one of us, individuals, to set an example for others. So, you know, and we also have Megan Adams here, who's a very good friend of yours, who's worked in our territory, mentored so many of our children, just a dear soul to our people, right? And to the whole post, Tana, Ketsy, Megan, for coming. So with that, I just want to say, Wallace, Tana, Ketsy, thank you very much for allowing me and the invitation, my brother and I, to come and witness what you've done, and to see this, you know, the beautiful mass that you brought out. I'd love to be there when you pop at you. So, Wallace, Tana, Ketsy.
Killer Kesma, Kikame, who's walking on like Lithacus, Ketsos, no Kekina Thacus, Quakali Kakun, who hates them, Killer Kesma, Killer.
I'd like to now call on Jimmy Cortell.
Kila ketla. You are kila. Oh wow! But I can't go anywhere beyond that one creation. You got lots here, but that one creation says it all. For yourself, your mom, your dad, and all of those who were under that whole transformation. had the honor to speak a little bit to you about. But that's exactly how all of that this whole deal is. You know, I really want to speak to the deals that your mom and dad would be so proud that you brought this out, exposed that. I really hope and pray that more people who look and see and grasp the significance of that transformation matter. That's just awesome, man. I mean, all the other stuff you have here, all the other stuff that you showed and spoken to and that there, you know, and that's one of the things that I hear Bobby and I hear all more voices speaking wholeheartedly to. It's not just the reconciliation that is going to be taking place within the indigenous, it's the non-indigenous too that are going to uphold and recognize something that these songs, these singing, these dances, these masks and everything, they belong now. They need to be exposed. And they're going to be exposed by yourself and allowing the museum, allowing that to be displayed here. You know, I really feel strongly that, you know, the whole deals of by sitting here, by being a participant and allowing myself to feel this. That's what it is. I feel that. I have somehow or another, and I'm drawn deeply into that. And you know that. When you showed that deals that's erected the residential school, you showed all of that deals. And that's where I've come out for my own self. I've come to show that I am who I am today. I am not that product that you wanted to create. I speak today wholeheartedly. I speak diligently to the mere fact of, you know, myself coming out of. You know, I'm honored that I could be, and I did not know this is what it was going to be, Jasmine. She asked if I would be a participant today. She said, Cecil Dawson's got an exhibit that he wants. I said, I know Cecil. I did not know this was his. But it's an honor for me to stand here and say to you and all of that this whole thing is going to have an impact. It's going to resonate to the mere fact of what this is all about. You know, and I say to myself, as those that are coming out and recognizing not the gap, not the deals, but recognizing that whole deal of that. The colonization, the residential, this, that, all of that. The indigenous are shining, they're blossoming, they're showing the trueness of who we truly are. And today, as I participated and felt all of that energy, you know, and I think of all those who have not had the opportunity to witness something else. But it's got to be shown. It's got to be exposed. This is what has happened. You know, the pure fact about this young kids and all of that there, and this thing here with this happening now. And I said more communities are going to be able to absorb all of that. I know for myself I'm going to be a participant. I know from the cultural support team that I have visited those reserves. Cecil was over at Port Alberta when we did that. They call it with the children. That was an awesome ceremony. It was something that has to be displayed and has to be shown to all those places. All those residential schools. I've been up to Cameron. Can you fathom those 250 children who did not have the opportunity to go back to their homes? And that was the significance of what they did in Port Alberta. They call it those little kids, call it the bringing them, calling them, sending them home, telling them it's time for you to go home. That's hard. It's hard to fathom that. And it's even harder today to think of how many they have so far. And they've only done a few schools. And they're at a big total. But I know today, with Cecil and all of that, and myself, that we're asking those children just to go home. You have been discovered. to allow him to go home. And I think that's what's going to happen throughout this ceremonial ways. It's a ceremony that we have. It's a ceremony that we can do like this. Those children are going to be ventured off. So for myself, Cecil, to you and what you've shown, to you and where you're coming from, and how you felt inspired to do that. I lift my hands up to you, and I say for myself and my family, Kila Kesla, Kila Kesla.
Kila Kesla, Kismet, dapat sa looking Kismet, was what the connections.
Before I call on our chief and our host, I would like to take the opportunity, as you see, I'm looking at each camera. I understand this is live stream on the internet. I want to invite those people that are watching on the internet to come and take in this exhibit. Come and learn a part of our history. Please, please, please don't be like what's going on in the United States, where they're trying to deny their history and not allowing the true and full history to be taught in their schools. The more we educate ourselves about our neighbors, our differences in our history, culture, tradition, and laws, the better off we all will be. And it's an investment in our children's future. That's the message I would like to leave with those that are watching on the internet. And I'd like to now call on our host and chief, birthday boy.
I want to thank everybody today for coming from near and far, from Toronto, from Vancouver, from everywhere. This today was about thousands and thousands of years, because we're talking about genocide. And this is one family's journey through that. I remember growing up, and me and my sister were adopted into our tribe. And it was always a contentious shame for me, because we talked about pure bloodlines in the chieftainship. It wasn't until later, and especially after the 215 were found, that when my mother was in the Nanaimo TB hospital, that they were sterilized. And the chiefs at home wanted this chieftainship to continue, so they called us in. When we were living here in Campbell River, we were still believing the lie that we were less than, we weren't human, that we just gave too much attention to song and dance and we didn't know how to work. We drank, we were homeless, we were addicted, we were less than. That was the lie. And at a very young age, my grandmother and my grandfather
was chipping away at that wall. Because I lived a double life when I lived in Campbell River. I went to the school, I played sports, I did what was supposed to be done. But in the weekends and the evenings, they taught me this was forbidden knowledge. And for me coming here with this museum, it was like coming home in a lot of ways. Because now everybody knows that it was a lie. From now on, from here, we don't live that lie anymore. If you see our people pushing the buggy, struggling with alcohol and drugs, they're still believing the lie. There's a story there, probably a really sad one. And we were all there at one time. So from now on, there's no more lie. That we belong here. That our worldview doesn't involve clear cutting, killing all the buffalo, killing all the fish. It involves working with nature, working amongst each other. My Uncle Bobby once said that someday we'll get past his word reconciliation and survivor. We'll get some new words, and I think it's here now. The new words are to love one another, to respect one another, to live in harmony, because we're no longer alone. And it's no longer a lie. The mere fact that the museums are sponsoring this moment, both museums, the Museum of Anthropology, Campbell River Museum, it's just gone beyond talking the talk. We're walking the walk, and we're no longer walking alone. And that's what the show is about. And I will leave you with the parting words of our Father. Whenever He's seen you, He said, I love you, I love everyone. And I thank you again, all of you, for coming. Thank you.
Good one.
So there's little left to say other than to thank all of you for spending the day with us together and sharing in the accomplishment of my nephew. I know he's wanted to do this for a long time, and it's really a beautiful space. And I know how deeply he appreciates this institution and all of you for being here today to celebrate. But if you agree with me, these chiefs talk a lot longer than I do.
I'll give you that one, Bob.
Before everybody departs, I depart by his wife. The museum representative wants to say a word. The floor is yours.
I'm sorry.
Nice to see you.
I promise yours. Kailan kaswa dito kami. Kahit laha awibis sa likido. Kailan kaswa kumugulat sa tomato. Hindi ko ang standard. wallacemootland.com. I'm very, very grateful for us all to be here together today. And I want to thank Cecil for his generosity in sharing his history, his culture, and his art, and creating this space. It has been an honor and a privilege for you to want to do that in the community where you spend your childhood and youth. It hasn't been easy, I'm sure, for you to think about your childhood, think about your parents' childhood, think about your grandparents' childhood, and how you have all been impacted by colonization. But you did that, and you created this, something that is insightful, mindful, and uplifting. And we can't even express what that means to us. I also want to thank Beth, our curator, who worked with you over the last year and a half during some very difficult COVID times to make this happen. I think it's something that you should both be very, very proud of. Excuse my tears. I also want to thank the Museum of Anthropology and the staff who are here, who enabled us to share some of your family pieces, which are in their care. It is a great, they don't often get the opportunity to bring those pieces closer to the community where they're from, and thank you for supporting the staff doing that. Cedar, you have supported your father throughout this, and I can see you listening and learning so that you can uplift your new youth. It's, yeah, oh God, it's really hard. And Bobby Joseph, you said this museum has always pushed the envelope. And I have to thank the other staff members who aren't here with us today, not that they passed away. Jay Stewart, Jeanette Taylor, Leisha Davis, and Linda Hobart, who established a tradition. We didn't always get it right. And Cecil, if I was the person that when you wear the white gloves, when you held your copper, I'm sorry for that. But we have tried. And I think this is a very positive and uplifting space that's been created together. Gil Kesla.